Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us again for the 24th episode of Power, Possibilities, Peace of Mind. And I'm so excited. Alicia and I were just having a giggle about Zoom and Facebook, and I was kind of preparing her like, it's going to do this, and then it might take a few minutes. And the instant I hit go live, we were live. So thank you, digital universe.
So good.
Yeah, so I'm so thrilled to be back today with today's guest, Alicia Sokol, who I met, gosh, Alicia, I think 4 years ago, or maybe almost closer to 5, since like almost the minute I moved here to Washington, D.C. And, you know, you were such a powerhouse in the class where we met over in our original Soul Cycle studio over in West End, writing with such joy, such power. And, you know, one of the things like I really love about this whole experience of me living in DC is the community and how everyone, you know, I came from I came from Miami and New York. And yet in our little nook of DC, I feel the connection and community is such like a more intimate and powerful experience. And to my luck, to my fortune, that is how I met you. And to find out that you are a rock star instructor and owner of Bar 3, which is a national fitness studio or fitness brand. And you own the studio on 14th Street here in Northwest DC. So Alicia, tell everyone who's watching who you are and who you be.
Okay. My name is Alicia Sokol, as Tiffany just said. And at this time in my life, I'm owning a fitness studio, which sometimes when I stop and think about that, I could almost laugh out loud, because I'll tell you something funny. I was never the type of person who dreamed of owning a business at all, even though I went to business school as an undergrad. I studied finance. But I was never one of those people who thought, wow, one day I really want to own a business. There were people in my classes when I was a business student who did have that dream. And I remember thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. That's not my dream. But the funny thing is, you know what, it is a lot of work. Yeah, so that's number one. Number two, I think it's also kind of funny that I'm a fitness instructor. And that's funny because, you know, as a kid, I was a really kind of awkward kid. I didn't have any sports. I was kind of all knees and elbows, no muscle. I wanted nothing more in this world than to be Mary Lou Retton. I wanted to be a gymnast. And if we were in person, you would see that I'm about 5'10". So, you know, about a foot taller than you know, a foot taller than the, you know, a successful gymnast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So anyway, I wasn't an athletic kid. And I have one brother. My brother is a tremendous athlete. He played multiple sports. He went on to be a Division I athlete. And I think, you know, my parents spent a lot of time just worried about my sort of ability to move and be healthy. My dad would sign me up for tennis lessons, and he's like, you know, you got to get a sport that you can do your whole life. And so it's kind of funny and ironic that here I am owning a fitness studio.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for it. I've taken classes with you and with other of your incredible instructors, and it's such a nice balance to what we do at Soul Cycle. And just, you know, the space itself. So if you can't already tell, Alicia is in her studio right now. And her studio is actually 2 levels. And one of the things that really touched me, to be honest, was the fact that you have a little daycare, like a area downstairs for children, for moms to come, and they don't have to worry about childcare. It's come do your workout. You have a qualified person there to watch the kid. And I have to say, I think one of the first times I ever came, I was like, I don't even want to take the class. I want to hang down here with
the babies.
Yeah. I was like, if you had pet care, it would be a wrap. I would be a volunteer on your pet care.
Yeah.
So And that just goes to show, what I was sharing earlier about community and really, leaning into what matters to you. So, what I'm hearing you say is you never imagined 10, 20 years ago that you'd be a business owner.
Mhm.
And you never imagined that you'd be pivoting and shifting your profession, because it's one thing to be a business owner, but then also to be like a practitioner of the business is a whole other thing. And I love that about you. And really, you can tell the mindfulness that has gone into this studio. Alicia was just telling me before we popped on that she had plants all over the studio upstairs and they're not there because they're being taken care of. Like, that's mindfulness, that's thoughtfulness. And this studio is not just a studio, it's also a community.
Right.
So, Alicia, tell us a little bit about how you're navigating through, the pandemic and the quarantining, and how you're staying connected with your community.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first, I wanted to just comment on our play lounge downstairs.
Oh, is that what it's called, the play lounge?
It's called a play lounge, yeah. One of the things I love about Bar 3, and for those who've never heard of Bar 3, by the way, the workout is a combination of strength conditioning, cardio, and mindfulness. We have a 45-minute class and we have a 60-minute class. And the thing I love best is that it truly is for any body. We have adaptations for each posture, which means that if you're coming in with, an injured knee or back problems or, pregnant or postpartum, there are choices so that every person who comes in can feel successful. So I love that Bar 3 from the very beginning. It's a company that started in Portland, Oregon in 2008. So we're an almost 12-year-old company. The founders, Sadie and Chris Lincoln, at the time had young children and really wanted to support young families. A barrier to being able to work out with a brand new baby is, of course, you're caring for a brand new baby. And a lot of times, we are the first people that are taking care of a baby outside of, a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or someone related. And so that's a big moment when a mother walks in with a baby and says, and of course, our parents are right here on site. I'm sitting here in our main studio, which is up on the third level of this building. It's an old brick building built in 1891. I'm up on the third floor. Our lobby area and play lounge is on the second floor. But if you think about, a new mom who's never left her child with anybody who's not her own mother, that flight of stairs it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So to be able to provide that sort of ability for not only new moms, but really anybody who comes here, it should be a sanctuary. It's a place where you can let everything stay out of the room. Turn the cell phone off. The worries that are swirling through your brain, we're encouraging you to let them go so you can truly fill your own cup. And the question you asked me was really about community. And I feel like because of the connection of the community we've built, that is what is saving us right now. So yeah, we opened in March of 2016. So we just turned 4 in March.
Congratulations.
And yeah,
I saw that on the Instagram.
Yes.
For you. Yeah.
We love being in this neighborhood. We have quite a number of members with us who are founding members. They were with us from, before we opened. We were doing a number of classes all over the place, in dance studios, art galleries, coffee shops, parks. And that was the start of our community. And I think what was most important for me were a couple things. Number one, I want every single person who walks through these doors or has an interest in being a part of this community to know that they belong here. This is not a private club. This is not exclusive. You don't have to look a certain way or wear a certain thing. We are opening our arms to anybody and everybody that wants to be a part of this. I think that goes back to, being a kid. When I was a kid, I grew up in suburban Chicago. I lived in a community where my family was the only biracial family anyone had ever known. And that sense of feeling different. And, this hair now is all in style. Yeah, it looked just like this when I was a kid, and guess what? It wasn't in style then.
Mm.
So just that feeling of like wanting to be embraced and belonging goes all the way back to being that kid who was like awkward, not athletic, picked last for the team in gym, and had this crazy hair, you know? So I'm like, I want every person to be like, oh yeah, this is my place. So there's that. We work really hard to make sure people feel that way. And it's everything from little things like making sure to remember people's names. But
Absolutely.
also like actively listening. When someone comes in and I say, what are your goals? What brings you here today? Like truly spending the time to understand. And I mean, people come in here with all kinds of different um, goals. Sometimes, you know, you've got the person saying, listen, I've never liked fitness. I've never liked to exercise, but I got to do something. So this is I'm going to try this and see if it sticks. To, you know, people who are Ironman triathletes and they're like, yeah, I need a little stretching and cross training, but I'm going to be running 20 miles tomorrow. And I, you know, swam 2 miles yesterday. So we've got the full range. And I just want everyone to feel like, yeah, we're your place, we're your people. You're always welcome here. And we want you to come just as you are. And also, really importantly, celebrate who you are right now. You know, we all have so many big goals, like, you know, whether it's, you know, I'm getting ready for my wedding or my school reunion, or I'm training for a race, or I really want to be a certain way or look a certain way for a certain thing, right? Like it's normal and natural to have those goals. But I
Hmm.
think there's something so liberating about just celebrating the person you are today, the body you have today, and all that's going right, you know?
I love that. That right there is just power of community and power of inclusion. I love how you touched all, all across the board there. So tell us how that's translating right now with being quarantined and, those goals don't go away. People still have goals. And,
Yeah.
how are you and Bar 3 connecting and engaging and, sustaining and maintaining what you've built over the past 4 years?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, it's interesting. There's this, we go through almost like stages of grief, right? Over all that has been so quickly snatched away. Like your beach vacation canceled, you know, weddings, travel vacations canceled. It's the classroom, whatever it is, it's probably been canceled. And so some of those things we were working towards or we were excited to look ahead for are gone. And I think that it's a real invitation to ourselves to make this a time to get really comfortable, not only at home, because we have to be, but also at home in our bodies,
Mm,
right?
yes.
Um, yeah, literally. So what happened was we closed our studio. I will never forget. It was a Friday the 13th. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a very superstitious person. Like I knock on wood. I'm real funny like that.
Me too.
Yeah. And sure enough, Friday the 13th, March, um, you know, I feel like it happened kind of quickly. There was suddenly some information, and snap of the fingers, like 3 o'clock that afternoon, I'm like, we have to close. So we did. We had a full weekend of classes scheduled and shut it all down. And I feel like because Bar 3 is a national brand, and we have a very robust online digital platform on bar3.com, you can go there and there's beautifully produced, workout at home videos from 10 minutes to 60 minutes, really robust library. I leaned on that library for just a couple days and I thought, but I got to figure out a way to meet the needs of my community here, right? Who knows me, who knows my instructors and each other. And
Yeah.
so we quickly jumped to taking our classes to Zoom. And let me tell you, this was a great exercise for letting go of perfection and control. It was, you know, um, like the production, it's a little bootleggy, right? It took time to figure out sound. It took
Oh yeah.
time to figure out like lighting, you know, all that technical stuff. And I kept making this analogy. I'm like, I feel like I'm learning to fly the plane, but the plane is already in the air. And
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm like pushing the buttons and not sure what's going to happen. And also, by the way, just so terrified every single time.
Mhm.
Like every single time I put that mic on, I'm like, oh, there's live people here.
Yeah.
They're counting on me to keep them, motivated.
I
Um,
love that, Alicia, because, sometimes, and that I just want to like lean in on that perfectionism. And perfectionism is contagious as well. And when we get caught up in that space, other people think they got to show up a certain way as well. And I
yeah,
just loved how authentic you were, just letting everyone know, like, I was scared. And,
yeah,
I know that fear because, I have a similar story to you of like, I never knew I was going to be a fitness instructor. It was something I thought was great and the community was awesome. Went, got it, and was doing it. And then I'm like, oh, but wait, the spotlight camera, oh my gosh, wait, I didn't know the whole thing. And, you know, when my first guest came on, we were Maria Alejandra. We were talking about celebrities who are doing their, because most celebrity, well, not most, but a lot of celebrities have somebody running their social media for them. And
sure.
right now, when they're coming on live and doing, just chatting or whatever, performing, they're like, does this work? Can y'all see me? Can you hear me? Like, and like internet goes down. So like, that's real. That
Yes.
is real. And, but what I also see, and thank you for using the analogy of the airplane that's already in the air and you're learning how to fly it. John Bettina, who was just on Tuesday, he said it's like flying the airplane and building it at the same time.
Yeah,
You
yes.
guys,
All
you
these
guys are
airplane
like,
references, which
uh-huh.
so funny. Yeah,
Yeah, so it makes sense. And that's really, one of the things that we talked about that, you wanted to share today was like a love of learning. Like, I'm going to learn this because it matters. The community matters. And I love the distinction between understanding that there is a robust library on Bar 3 and our community gets to experience our community.
right.
So I love that.
Thank you. I think it became clear to me quickly, like, why would people tune in to see this? Like, it might work, it might not, the sound might be crazy. Like, why would they do that when they could easily go to bar3.com and get, a 20-minute workout that is properly lit and you can hear it. And the thing is, there's obviously space for both, like, but I think that it's number one, it's accountability. Like, I can see you. I saw that you signed up. And I'm going to tell you, like, hey, I'm happy to see you. And I also try to come to the camera and see people working. Like, hey, Tiffany, awesome job, bringing your plank to your kitchen counter. That's a great choice, and shouting people out because they're like, oh, yeah, hey, you can actually see me, right? So,
Oh, people love the shout out.
yeah,
Love the shout out.
the
Yeah.
accountability, the ability to see the face that and the voice that and also see the other people in the community, like, oh, hey, yeah, I see this person every day when I take my 6 a.m. class as part of the regular crew, like that comfort. And then the other thing that's been just so lovely is we are all in our homes. How intimate and vulnerable is that? Like, there's children in the background, there's dogs and cats crawling over people when they come to the mat to do work on the floor. Yeah. And then the other thing that's been wonderful is that all of a sudden geographic and time zone boundaries are gone. So my sister-in-law in Menlo Park, California, we've been on the same workout.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
Yes.
We hosted a virtual book club last week. We're trying to do some fun things for our members. And my sister-in-law participated in that book club. And it was great because, had we held it here, like, she would have been on the luck, but we didn't. It was virtual. So we could bring together people who might not be able to come together otherwise.
Yeah, and that's a huge point that you're making. The local business owner has a huge opportunity right now for a global market, a global reach.
That's right.
And yes, it matters to still cultivate your local community. Yet this is a unique moment in time where, and this is how I've been coaching my clients. Like, it doesn't matter where you are right now. We can serve as long as you have internet, a voice, and like a gift, whatever it is, with wisdom, talent, skill, whatever.
Yeah.
The whole world is watching.
Yeah.
That's beautiful to share, how your community is expanding.
Thank you.
And the truth is, like, the community a lot, we talked about this on Tuesday. Some people left DC to
Yeah.
either quarantine, in nature, or quarantine with their family, or quarantine in a house rather than
Right.
a condo or an apartment. So what a awesome way to stay connected.
Yeah. We have one of our instructors right now teaching regular classes from her parents' home in upstate New York. And
Yep.
again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that she's not here. We still see her. She gets right on her computer. I wanted to just quickly touch base. You said, I was kind of giggling as you were talking about, just the humanness of like celebrities who have somebody else doing their social media all of a sudden, like, we're all kind of exposed. And I think it's really important to show, I've even said before, class before, like, listen, I just want y'all to know I'm terrified. Like, usually you're not owning up to like, I'm nervous or whatever, but I think we're all having these moments that have never happened before. There's this fantastic podcast series that Brene Brown just started called Unlocking Us. And in her very first episode, she talks about the FFT, which is the effing first time. And I'm like, you know what? For a lot of us right now, all day long, every day is the effing first time, and it's exhausting. Yeah. And I think when you can show your humanness and when you can allow yourself to be vulnerable, you invite others to face their own vulnerabilities and accept them, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not going to put on some show like it's all okay. It's not all okay all the time. There's times when it's really just a big old mess,
Yeah.
And
thank you for sharing that and keeping it real. And that's another cornerstone of Brene's work is vulnerability.
Right.
And really that's, on the other side or the opposite end of perfectionism, thinking it's got to look a certain way, it's got to sound a certain way, it's got to certain amount of people got to show up. And that is being attached to a result rather than attached to like, I'm here to serve, and whoever shows up and whatever songs are playing or whatever the light looks like, it's going to be great. Because the intention is to serve and to hold space for people to move their bodies. I love that, Alicia.
That's such an important point, Tiffany. And I know that you know this so well because you are, a very talented and effective fitness instructor. By the way, I'm going to tell you that first class I took with you, I feel like I remember almost all the songs. I remember the music so clearly. There was some good Michael Jackson in there. There was some Prince. It was all.
I missed that part right now. I'm really like, I realized how SoulCycle was my connection to music.
Yeah.
In my home, I don't really listen to music. And, no, it's just like, I don't know. It's so when I do leave my home to like go on a walk.
I listen to music all the time at home, but now that music is so much a part of my professional life, I really don't listen to music at home.
Yeah.
Not the way I used to.
Exactly. And I've lived a few different lives. So before being a SoulCycle instructor, there was a gap. And before that, like I was a DJ in nightclubs. So like,
I remember
I've had my taste and fill of music. So like, it wasn't a part of my home yet, going on walks and being out in the world during this quarantine, you better believe I am like on my music. Yeah. Like all day, every day. And that to me is very inspiring. So I'm so thrilled that you remember the music.
Yeah, I remember the music so much. And I think that you hit on something really important just a moment ago, which was that it's not about the instructor. It's not about you, right? It's not about me. Our job, as you said, is to serve. It's about an experience. And I think also a lot of the tools that were available to us to deliver an in-person experience are gone, right? And so quickly trying to figure out, how do I deliver an authentic and effective experience that is gonna, when someone hits, leave meeting, how are you gonna, right? I mean, yeah, so how do you give them that same sense of, I want people to leave feeling successful. I want them to feel like the, weight has come off their shoulders. I want them to feel ready to face whatever challenge is ahead of them. Because the truth is, I've asked you for the 45 minutes or the hour to like set aside whatever it is like weighing on your mind. But like once you're done, you're like, yeah, now I got to get back to that. But like, how do we make sure that people have had that experience without all the other tools we typically have to deliver that? So that's been a huge learning moment. And I realized something about myself as a learner. I have a natural love of learning. I love to read. I'm very curious, but it feels real good when it's on my own time and of my own sort of like volition. It feels a little less great when it's like forced on me,
When you're forced to make a decision or react, like this is happening
right
now.
That's right.
Either hire someone to do it or learn, or I don't even know where to go with those two choices. So I agree with you there.
Mm-hmm. So I think although there are things that I naturally seek out and love to learn, it's just a much heavier lift when it's like, you need to learn this, you need to learn it like in the next 2 hours. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm sweating, like so much sweat. It's funny because I'm not, my life during the day is so much more sedentary. I mean, I get outside, I take a hike, I teach, whatever, but like, I'm doing a whole lot more sitting. And I think it's funny how often I'm like sitting and sweating. I'm like, I'm going nowhere, but I'm sweating, trying to learn something new.
Yeah. Well, that's also, your body's response to like excitement. Excitement and fear are the same physiological experience. Yeah. So it's what's going on in the moment of like, oh my gosh. And, whatever it is that you're learning, it's either something that's going to support you or you're passionate about, which ultimately supports you. So that all makes sense to me. Yeah. I'm a sweater too. It's so funny. And it's usually just my armpits and my face. Like when I do my at-home workouts, it's like my head is raining. I'm like, wow, my head is raining cats and dogs right now. So I feel you on the sweating. Like I'm a sweater too.
Yeah.
My friends are always like, your nose has beads on it. I'm like, I'm just sweating. I'm a sweater. So
but
even when we're just sitting, we're just sitting somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have on this t-shirt. I'm like, I have a jacket over it, but I'm like, it's good that I have a jacket on because I'm probably like, oh, well, not like showing you, like, let's look and see.
Yeah, no, it's all clear. But not to mention that we live in DC, and I don't know if you saw, but tomorrow it's going to be almost 90 degrees here in DC.
Yeah,
so sweat might be on a natural uptick tomorrow.
I know, which is so funny, and I feel like so very DC that we go from. I mean, it's been a cool spring, like a really unseasonably cool. To go from this kind of cold spring to all of a sudden, like, let's just fast forward to August. I mean,
that's been my total DC 5-year experience. I'm like, all of a sudden it's the depth of summer. Like I'm like, we went from like 59 to 89. I'm like, what is that about?
I mean, it was in the 30s last Saturday.
Like, yeah, at night. For all those people who have outdoor plants and trying to get their landscaping on, I feel you with the bringing it in, bringing it out, or just like RIP, we lost some friends, some flower friends along the way. So Alicia, tell us, what else have you been learning, as a small business owner navigating through this 2-month experience?
Oh my goodness. So there's the learning that has been sort of like thrust upon me. So understanding Zoom, even though, we certainly do not have a reopening date. I mean, our stay-at-home was just extended yesterday through June 8th. And I feel like even when we are given the go-ahead to open, I don't know that we're going to be rushing right back. I'm starting to learn about, figuring out how to operate this space in a way that's safe and healthy as we're working our way back to being open. And there's a lot of stuff that I'd never thought about before. I'm learning a lot about, different agents. Like cleaning is not the same as disinfecting, is not the same as sanitizing. Okay. All different stuff.
Wild. Like it's like my brain capacity is like, wow, now I know about cleaning agents. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's right. And also you guys to think about like the surfaces in here are natural. Our bars are made of wood. Obviously our floors are made of cork, and figuring out what kinds of different agents can go on, it's not very sexy, but it's very necessary. So there's that kind of learning. I've also really been trying to take charge, and I would not say I'm a control freak, but I would say as a human, everybody likes to have control over something, right? And right now it feels like there's so much that's not in control. So one thing I've been really trying to do proactively is decide some learning for myself that is unrelated to anything here. So for example, I've been trying to play the piano almost every day.
Oh, wow.
I decided I wanted to learn this particular nocturne by Chopin, which is just a little on the edge of my skill level. And so I love it because it's given me something to do with my hands and my brain that kind of carries me away. I'm reading a ton right now. Again, just trying to expand my brain in other ways.
Well, let everyone know, what are some of your favorite books that are lighting you up right now?
I just finished reading American Dirt, which is fiction. And this book arrived on the scene. It was published late last year. It is about a family in Mexico who is essentially, crossing the border to come into the US. And this book got tons of vitriol, tons of criticism, mainly because the author herself, I think, is not Mexican, does not have this experience. And so she got really skewered. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to read any of that before I read the book. I'm going to read the book first, and then I will go back and read that. But I'll tell you what, it was a very well done book. The characters were well developed. That she's a beautiful writer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finished, I was like, you know what? I'm actually not going to go back and read any of that criticism because I enjoyed the book. It had me hooked from the very first page. Like it's the kind of story where you're like, okay, just one more chapter.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, hey, maybe we'll see it on Netflix soon, because that's
I could see this becoming a movie. I could totally see it becoming a movie. And it's interesting.
American Dirt.
Mm-hmm. My father has a migration story. My father was born in Angola, and when he was a young man in his late 20s, he, on foot with a friend, crossed more than 700 miles over the course of like 5 months to go to the northern border. At the time, it was called Zaire. It's now the Democratic Republic of Congo. But, I've heard my father's personal stories over all these years. And I felt like just so many of his stories were coming back to me as I'm reading this, like, fictionalized account of this mother and her son making this trip. So I really enjoyed the book. And I tend to read like fiction, nonfiction. Yeah. I also read recently Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's an audience favorite.
Yeah.
Included. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So playing the piano, reading books, what else? Is there anything else as a small business owner that you're learning that has been supporting your navigation through this unique space and time?
Yeah, I think that sometimes just sitting up and taking notice of others who are leading in a way that is exemplary, but maybe not necessarily like along the same path, can be refreshing. So for example, I have 2 sons. They're both in middle school. And of course, they're in learning at home right now. Summer camp has been canceled. I'm thinking, oh my God, what are these kids going to do all summer at home with no school, no camp? And so I broke down and I bought a subscription to Masterclass. And I said to my 14-year-old, I'm like, okay, I want you to pick some classes. I want you to decide what you want to learn. And I thought, well, I'm going to pick some classes of my own. So I started a class 2 nights ago that is led by the extraordinary Anna Wintour.
Ooh.
Obviously, her business and her life and her path, incredibly different than mine. But I love listening to her talk about leadership and decision-making and just all the things that go into what has made her such an icon at Vogue.
Yeah. Wow.
And I have so many times scribbled down or screenshotted something like, oh, I got to remember that. But it's also been really reaffirming because I think, in one of her first lessons, she says, there's nothing more important than hiring a strong team and surrounding yourself by smart people who work well together and with you. And I was like, yeah, that I love that. And it just I miss my team so much. I could start to cry thinking about how much I miss my team.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there's been some affirmations in that way too. As I'm starting to look through the different options, I'm just trying to pick people who have had a different experience and a different voice, and who I might learn something from that's unexpected.
Mm. So have you been in touch or collaborating with any other local small business owners in regards to, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. So my good friend Amanda McClemens owns Little Leaf and Salt and Sundry. And
Yeah.
yeah, just a couple weeks ago, she decided she's like, hey, do you know how to work Instagram Live? Yeah, I don't either. I'm like, okay. She's like, let's do this together. So she invited me on a Saturday evening. She's like, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna make a cocktail. And then she's like, then we'll add you in. You make a cocktail. We'll do a little virtual cheers, and then you teach us some little stretches. That was really fun. It was,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, this neighborhood here on 14th Street has so many incredible small businesses, and I've tried to figure out different ways to support them, whether it's shouting them out on Instagram or buying gift cards to give to people kind of randomly. Even like $25 here, $25 there, like
Yeah.
it's something, you know. I've also really been trying to think about, like, I think hard about the businesses that I want to make sure are there when all of this is over,
Yep.
and how can I support them now? So my good friend, Suzanne, who is the co-owner with her partner Bettina, who owns Chaya Tacos. They have a location in Georgetown and a location over on I Street, and they're doing a supper club. So I've been trying to order like once a week, once every 2 weeks or so, an enchilada dinner or something. Because I think, on the other side of this, I want to make sure they're there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I it's working, Alicia, because I didn't even know there was an I Street location until you posted on your Instagram. And I was like, because I live closer to the I Street location. I was like,
That's real close for you.
"Ikea opened up in my neighborhood." Like I got so excited about that. So it's
Yeah.
working.
Yeah.
And, that makes a lot of sense because, I just remember it's reminding me of Black Friday and then Small Business Saturday, that's what we're up against right now is
That's
we
right.
get to revive and be Small Business Saturday every day of this quarantine to the best of our ability. Because, everyone who's craving, to be in the world, the world has got to be there too. The world has got to be there for us to go engage in. So we get to support. And, and I also love, and I want to just acknowledge all the businesses that are flexing into complimentary and flexing into like free experiences, free delivery, and things
Right.
like that they normally, that normally wouldn't quote unquote sustain their business. But
Right.
it's just like, this is what we got. We feel you, we hear you, and just being really connected to what's going on right now. So I really just want to acknowledge all the businesses out there that
Yeah.
are just being creative, being resourceful, and being playing like community and remembering that like we're all partners now. We're all teammates. Like
Yeah.
you need the customers and we need you. We need you.
We all
So
need each other, right? We all need each other to carry on, for
yeah.
sure.
So speaking of which, the other piece that you wanted to share was about the human connection. Authentic human connection during this time of social distancing, and knowing that your business model before the pandemic was primarily based on human interaction coming to a place, physical. So, what is that looking like and feeling like now, in regards to authentic human connection in this? I mean, look at us right now. We're just on a Zoom,
Yep.
it's on Facebook Live. Like, what does that mean to you now?
I think there's been an evolution. That first week or two, we were at home and we were kind of panicking, like, what are we gonna do? We, decided to get on Zoom with our friends and have happy hours and things like that. And but I'm seeing, and that has all been good, but I'm seeing kind of a different shift right now. So like the other day, I sat out in front of my house, I parked my little chair, and as people were walking by, I had conversations with neighbors that I know, but I also had conversations with random people who went by. And I mean, they were a good, I don't know, 10 feet away from me wearing masks. And I think there's something really interesting that's going on. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like in the start of this quarantine, as we were out and about staying 6 feet away, people weren't looking at each other or saying hello.
Yeah.
Which was, and I kind of understand psychologically why. Like, we're supposed to be staying apart, and I'm thinking we can look at each other and give a nod, right? Like, but we're all just so jolted into this like panic, right? But I'm starting to notice, even now, like when I'm out and about with my mask or whatever, people making a point to acknowledge each other, whether it's just a meeting the eyes or a nod or a wave. You know, and I'm waving at people. I'm like, I don't know who that person is, but I'm going to wave
I
anyway.
love, listen, I've been doing that for a while, and I'm like,
Yes.
people think I'm crazy.
No.
But it doesn't matter, because it's about
Yes, I
me
see you.
being joyful and, that's always been something in my toolkit, is acknowledging people.
Yeah.
I've lived in New York, Miami, and here, and there is a population of people who do not have homes and who live outside for the most part. I
Right.
acknowledge them when I walk by. I mean, it's not like I'm engaging in full conversations, but I always say hello or good morning or have a great
I see
day.
you.
Absolutely. And what's interesting, side note for all the DC people, I have to acknowledge you for sitting in your front yard or your front lawn. I don't understand why people over landscape their front yards or their front lawns in DC. I'm like, you could have a table out here or some chairs. Why would you over landscape this piece of like this outdoor real estate? And that's me. I don't know. Maybe, that somebody told me maybe the ground is uneven or something. I still, so cheers to you for sitting on your front lawn. And you know what? That also is contagious. If people see you doing that, someone else will bring out the chair and sit on the front lawn and just be like, oh, she said hello the last time I walked out, so I'm going to sit out. And it
Yeah.
also reminds me of my best friends when they lived down in Capitol Hill. They would actually, that's how they, way before this quarantine, they used to, everyone would sit in their front yard and kind of talk to each other across the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just so like the kids of different ages had like their own little like thing. But I'm like,
Sure.
you guys, that you were practicing for what's going on right now. So
Well, so I live in Mount Pleasant, and most people have a porch. My porch has a porch swing and two Adirondack chairs. And then it's sort of like you walk up some stairs, there's a landing, you walk up, and then there's the porch. So you're pretty far away from people if
that
you're
is far,
up on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
But the other day there was this beautiful, sunlight was reaching this landing area, and I thought, I'm just going to pick up this Adirondack chair, put it right in the sun, I'm going to sit there. I had my newspaper and my little drink, but I was still a good 10 feet away from people.
Oh yeah.
But a little more approachable because I wasn't up on my porch. And and I thought, you know what, I want to make a point to do that as much as possible, even if I'm just watching people walk by with their dogs and their strollers. And that already like fills up the heart a little bit, just to see other people who are also
Absolutely.
they're in it. We're all in it.
And you just reminded me of the space in the distance. And I'm reminded that when I go to Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, that 6 feet is not even that far apart.
It's not.
Because when I'm standing in line, I'm like, I feel like people are very close to me, yet I know the grocery stores are not joshing us on the distance. Like that really matters to them and to us. So when I look at that, I'm reminded, wow, it's not when we think of it, it's like, go away, back. And I'm like, it's not that far away. Like, I don't know very many people that, unless you're like a face talker, like, I think that's a normal amount it's not like, outrageous amount to be apart from each other. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that about, your community and just how, that is such a small small token that, and to be on both sides, it goes a long way. It
Yeah.
definitely goes a long way,
I
because a
think,
lot of people are still trying to figure out what's acceptable and what's decent. And, where we see in the news the pendulum swinging in such extreme ways that, it is very simple. Even when I'm standing in line, I'll turn around and say hello, or, say hi, just to like, I'm a chatty person in general, and I'm an introvert. So I do, I don't mind like, having my space.
yeah.
So I love that, Alicia. That's beautiful.
Thanks so much.
So as we come to a completion today, as we come to a close, is there anything else you want to share to everyone watching now or later?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I feel like now is such a great time to explore a little bit and figure out what makes you feel really good in your body. That can mean a lot of different things. You know, I always think it's funny when someone says, "Oh, I started a workout routine. I'm running, but I hate to run." I'm like, well, then don't do that. Do something that you like to do. So even if it's just getting outside and looking at the birds or seeing if you can spot different kinds of trees. I don't know, like, getting fresh air and figuring out what to do. I also think it's a great time to try some new stuff. I've tried some new workouts, or workouts that weren't available to me before because of distance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a great time to try out some new stuff. We are doing on Sundays, we're doing a $10 community class. It's taught by our seasoned instructors. It's every Sunday at 4. However, I want you to
4
know
Eastern time, because we got some bicoastal folks here.
Eastern time. However, I do want you to know the weekend of Memorial Day, that Sunday, we're not having that class because I'm going to be teaching a free class on Zoom. It will be 10 a.m. Eastern time on Monday, Memorial Day.
Amazing. So
yeah.
Alicia, how about you pop those links in there, how people can sign up for the Sunday class,
Okay.
the $10 class, the complimentary classes, and how else can people stay in touch with you and Bar 3?
Through Instagram. I'm going to, okay, now you're going to challenge my,
You can do it when we log off. I know.
I
I know. Technology is a thing. It is a thing.
Okay, I'm going to put this here. Wait, I don't know if I'm putting it in the right spot, but I can always put it somewhere else later. Yeah, me and technology. Oh my. The last thing I'll say, I am huge. I love analogies because I feel like people can really connect to that. I feel right now like I'm running a marathon with no mile markers.
Ooh.
And I'm going to keep running, but I'm like, okay, my legs are getting tired and I'm kind of hungry. Like, it would be nice to know, like, is this mile 16 or are we more at like 22? But there's no way to know that. And so I think just really allowing a lot of grace and a lot of forgiveness is so important. I will tell you, I right now am definitely eating way more sugar than I usually do. I'm definitely not moving as much, but rather than getting all like wound up about that, I'm like, it's okay. I'm just making it through because I might still have a half marathon ahead of me. I don't know. Just got to make it through.
Great way to land that plane into like, and when I think about that analogy of the marathon, is that it's okay to take a break too, like, because if you don't know, you might need to take a break. There might be a half marathon left, so you can pause for a second. And so I love that. And grace is one of my favorite words. It's something that I've been leaning into. I am a very intense person. I'm a very like, I got a lot of energy. Yeah. And thank you for being real and honest about, because sometimes people think a fitness instructor or someone who owns a fitness studio is like crushing it and killing it. And it's like, we're human beings too. So thank you for sharing what you're authentically experiencing as an entrepreneur, as a fitness instructor, as a mom, as a partner, as a community member. Like, this is a holistic experience. It's not one, and this is really showing people that life has a lot of components or pillars to it.
Yeah.
And, and the ability for us to lean into those other components and pillars is just, whew, that's what I think of when I think of grace, and
Exactly.
not just making something so like intense. So, Alicia, thank you so much for joining me today, and everyone who's watching live. Thank you. We Alicia will be popping in all the ways that you can connect with her and connect with Bar 3. Even though it is located on 14th Street, it does not matter in this moment in time. So, Alicia Sokol, thank you so much. You are incredible, and I cannot wait to see more and more and more. Another 4 years, another 40 years, and I will see you soon. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much, Tiffany. I loved this. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a really
Absolutely. And I'll definitely, I mean, whenever you want to come back on, you got something new, like a new learning, a new experience, or, as we move into that next phase of, because I know a lot of people, especially in my community, are like on the edge of their seat wanting to get back into group fitness, get
yeah,
back into the structure, the accountability, even though it exists here digitally. But like for me personally, I definitely have gained weight. I definitely have not been working out as much as I
yeah,
would like to. And I know one of the pieces is I really thrive in group fitness, like not necessarily online, but I love the accountability and the experience of putting on the outfit, walking there, seeing the people, seeing their experience as well, being lit up with oxygen and visuals and sounds, and just that is my jam. So I would definitely love to have you back on as we start to move into what that first phase of being in a collective can look like.
yes, yes. I would love that. Thank you so much again. It's
Yes.
been a real
So
joy.
thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, everyone. And I will see you next Tuesday and Thursday. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.